Hello. Welcome back to Trading Weekly once again. This is a Christmas special today. It's the Sunday, December the 21st. Are you feeling festive, Kay?
I'm feeling very festive, and as you can see from what we are wearing. So, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas special. We do this every year. We did it last year as well. So, if you don't believe us, go back and look at on our channel. We did that. And today we have a special episode. So, why don't we kick it off?
Yeah, lots to get into. The only overlay I could really find that wasn't too intrusive was the little bells in the top left-hand corner. So I hope the viewers find that, you appreciate them, of course. And if you can see that. You're looking confused there,
Yeah.
Kay. What's wrong?
Yeah, Sean, I think your voice is a little bit, I think we are missing. I think maybe your headphones. Is it maybe check your audio a little bit? I think there's a
I've
little
got
bit of a
my
gap.
mic. Oh, hang on. No, my microphone's over here. What about now? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. It's just there's a lag between when you are speaking and when we are hearing.
Okay, people in the comments, if you can hear me, let me know. I'm not too sure if that's working, but we'll continue nevertheless.
Nevertheless, let's keep going. And we
Okay,
already got a couple picks. Thank you, Money Manage and Manram. We are going to be taking
of
them on.
course. So before we get into it, make sure you subscribe to Trading Weekly on YouTube. We do appreciate the support. Obviously, make sure you put your stock ticker request in the comments. Kay just mentioned you have quite a few in there already. We'll get them down. And obviously, it's a special episode today, so it'll be a little bit longer. So you can request as many as you want. Obviously, this is not financial advice. We're just a couple of guys on the internet just giving our thoughts and perspectives. Am I still breaking up?
No, you're getting better.
Okay, I'm getting better. That's good. The connection is holding.
Yes.
And and a massive Merry Christmas and a thank you as well to Wolf as well for letting us use the platform. We really appreciate it and couldn't do it without you. So we get started into the slideshow here. Okay,
Let's do this.
awesome. Christmas in 4 days. Awesome. Okay, so last week it felt greener than it looked, in my opinion. You can see on the screen here you've got NVIDIA flat, Apple, Microsoft, Google, all kind of within 1 or 2%, either up or down, as you can see on the screen. Amazon just next to your head-ish, down 1%. Looking pretty good, actually, the chart. Perhaps we can come to that a bit later on. Tesla, you can't see the number there, but Tesla is up 7.39%, just above K there.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's pretty much the big names on here. Anything else that's kind of punching out for you for last
No,
week?
not much. I think most of the green that we saw was in the last 2 days, but most of the week felt pretty flat. I would say it's just the last Friday and Thursday the market just really rallied. But as you can see from the weekly performance, we're still pretty much flat for most names.
Yeah, no, it was a funny weekend. Obviously, like you said, Thursday, Friday was pretty bullish. We'll get into the charts in obviously just a second, but for now, we'll move on to the next slide, which I believe is fear and greed. We're still sitting fairly in the middle here. 1 week ago, we were 42. Now we're 45. So we're just trading flat, as you just basically kind of mentioned. So yeah, I mean, do you want to talk to the left side there?
Yeah, so the put to call has gone up a little bit, 0.63 to 0.67, so slightly bearish, even though we moved from the fear to the neutral. VIX is pretty flat. We were 15 some points, and we are now just less than 15. So again, you can see it in the SPY and QQQ. They didn't really move much, flat for the week. Not much is going to happen this week, considering 25th will be a holiday, 24th will be a half day trading, and there is not going to be a much volume. So if you are trading options, or if you're doing any trading where your contracts are expiring on Friday, just keep in mind that you are going to lose one day. Some key events which I don't really see is going to happen much is going to be the core PCE numbers are going to come out on 23rd, and on 24th there'll be some initial job class claim numbers.
Yeah, and we said on Friday it's a half day, did you say? Or did you
Yeah.
not say that?
Let me see if it's Friday is a half day or not, but 24th is definitely a half day.
And that's where it finishes early, is that correct?
Yeah, so I think the market closes on 24th at 1 p.m. EST.
I
So
think I'm going to write that down, otherwise I'll forget.
yeah, so I'm just checking it. Some 20, 26.
I feel like I should probably know that already, but
No, it's just because it just no. So December 26th is a full trading day, but
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, but December 24th, they close at 1 p.m. So the Christmas Eve. But honestly, if you think about it, everybody's in a holiday mood. There is really not going to be
Yeah,
much volume.
there'll be
So
no volume. Yeah,
so be very careful in those spreads and trades because your orders may or may not get filled as fast as on a regular day.
exactly. I think that's wise words there from Kaye. Just be careful this week because the volume may not actually be there at all,
And
as
and
we've
we
seen in previous years as well. So,
yeah, same previous years. And we got a comment from Money Manage. Can you
yeah,
please speak on the AI inference stocks, AI names to look at for good potential? Yeah, absolutely. We'll take that as well.
yeah. If we don't get full kind of coverage on that today, then perhaps we can look at that something next week.
Yeah, we
And then
definitely are going to share our picks for 2026, which will be the first pick. But I think we can look at some AI specific trade names because I think no matter what you say, I think AI trade is still valid, and I think it's still going. We will still see 2026 as an AI trade play, if you want to use that. I don't know if that's the word or not, but
yeah, for sure. I think it's worth. I didn't actually hit it at the top of the hour. Obviously, the thing's a bit confused. I wasn't too sure what my connection was doing. But we're going to have one 2026 pick today and then another one next Sunday as well. So make sure you tune in for next Sunday. And of course, the standard procedure for next Sunday, which is kind of the end of the year live stream, is that we're going to have three things that we didn't do so well this year within trading, and then three things that went well for us as well. And obviously, we can have a look into 2026 and improve our training as best as possible. So stick around for that next week at 1 p.m. Eastern time, as always. But yeah, we'll get back into the slideshow now. Have we touched on all this slide? We haven't we?
no, we already touched this one. Yeah.
We'll move on to the earnings. Obviously, no earnings this week or next week. No, hang on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
even
this week or
for
next
the
week.
first week of January, there isn't much going on. It's only from the second week then you really start to see the cycle beginning, and that's where I think we will start to focus a lot more on earnings, and the cycle will kick it off. We got a couple of comments from Ken. Canadian markets are closed on both Thursdays and Fridays. So see, amazing. That's great. Because I believe that you guys have a Boxing Day, right?
Yeah, we do. In England, we do. Yeah.
So 24th, 25th, 20. That's amazing. I wish we were.
Maybe
Yeah.
Canadians have Boxing Day, perhaps. I'm not sure. But we've also got another one here, which is what do you guys think of the industrial sector in 2026? Look, I think it's always important, these industrial stock names, and I think they've done pretty well over the last 4 or 5 years. I expect it to continue, I guess. There's no reason why it shouldn't do. Any thoughts on this one, Kay?
No, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, a couple of industrial names that if you have any specific industrial names that you want us to look, throw it in the
Yeah.
comments, and as we go through those, the audience requests, we'll pick those up as well.
And he also says, yes, Boxing Day on the 26th. We'll just jump back into a couple of old comments as well. Obviously, ManRam, thank you for coming along once again. We do really, really appreciate the support throughout the last probably 2 or 3 years, actually, thinking about it. So, yeah, we do really appreciate that. Obviously, ALAB, Net, AXON, we'll get to those. And Money Manager as well. Same to you. Thank you for all the support that you've given us in the last couple of years. Palantir, Snow, Rubric. So we've got those ticker requests. Obviously, keep them coming in. Maybe, Ken, if you're interested in industrial names, like Kaye just said, then stick them in here. But for now, we'll move on to the next slide, which is the standard slide we have, which is SPY and QQQ. On the left side, we've got SPY, which is the daily chart. And on the right side, we've got QQQ, which is the weekly chart. What really points out to me on this particular slide is the QQQ weekly chart. It's a really nice hammer candle. Obviously, we have had news that have kind of helped that, but sometimes you need the news to kind of make a decent candle. And there hasn't been a really good candle in terms of hammer-wise since probably September. Is that September? September-ish, August, September. And you can see on the screen there my little cursor wobbling around. That was the last hammer candle I can see. And obviously following that, we had lots of upside. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that it's going to have lots of upside from here, but hammer candles do typically signal further upside, in my opinion, at least. Just lastly, I'll just point out the fact there's lots of volume here on the right side. Obviously, a bit of a peak. Well, I can't actually see because I've got the thing in the way. Let me just get rid of Wolf for just 1 second. There we go. Now you can actually see what I'm talking about. But up here, you've got the volume profile popping out here on the right side, and we obviously use that in a positive fashion. What we need to see, I think, next week is this recent high broken, which is around about 628, I think, top of my head. I did look at it earlier. But yeah, any thoughts on these two charts here, Kay?
I think on the SPY, we are what, 1%, a little bit less than 1% away from the all-time highs. And with not many trading days really left for 2025, I think one thing that we will be certain to see is that there will be a lot of tax loss harvesting done by the institutional investors. And I think this is also a good opportunity for yourself to look at your portfolio and kind of see through if there is any opportunity for doing tax loss harvesting. So in case like you have made a lot of profit and you'll end up with a huge tax bill come April, you might want to take the advantage of looking into selling some of those losses and kind of reducing your tax bill. That's one. And number two is to also take into account, totally forgot what I was about to say. We'll continue, but bottom line is, make sure you relook at those for tax loss harvesting. Relook at your portfolio. This is very, very important, because once the 31st passes, even if you sell, yes, I just remembered the point. For folks in the US, if you haven't invested in the Roth IRAs and IRAs account, make sure you invest before the end of 31st, because again, come January 1, you will begin with the 2026 cycle. So if you are going to invest in Roth IRA or backdoor Roth, all that has to be completed by the 31st of December. So just to keep in mind those things as well while you're doing your investing and trading.
I think just on the UK side of things, we have the ISAs over here, which is the same as the IRA, and that will be done in April, of course. So you've got a few more months here in the UK to sort that out and get that in. So yeah, so when you do tax loss harvesting over there, you always sell losers. Is that right?
Exactly. So what basically we are doing is, let's say, for example, because we are doing a lot of trading, and if you're profiting a lot and you'll end up, let's say across all your accounts you made $20,000, just say, in profit. Now that $20,000, you'll end up with a short-term capital gain. Now if you don't want a big bill to come, because it will be what, 30-35% will be taxed on it. So if you don't want to lose that much, you probably would take this opportunity to sell a couple of your losers to lower your tax bill. Now this is just a very generic advice, because taxes are very specific to each individual. Everybody has a different profile. Some people make a lot of money, some people have businesses, so they can get a lot of tax advantages. So everybody has to look through their own portfolio, own circumstances. But keeping this in mind, generally institutional investors, this is exactly what they do. To lower their tax bill, they will do tax loss harvesting. So this is a common practice, and I think
and they wouldn't sell the whole positions. They'd probably sell part of
no.
the positions.
So for example, like I'll give you an example. Like for example, I have Boeing, which is in loss for last 5 years. So I'm not going to sell the entire position, but let's say I will, I kind of assess how much tax bill is going to come, and I'm going to maybe sell 1/3 of the position to lower my tax bill, because I can take tax advantage in many places, not just by selling investment, but that is one of the ways I can lower my tax bill. Also
Awesome.
free up my cash.
No, getting ready for the new year ahead. No, it's smart. I like it. We'll jump back into charts. Anything else to add on this chart before we move on? No. Okay, sweet. Next slide. Then we have where to find us. We'll touch over this very briefly. Of course, you can find me on X and YouTube at @SeanTrades_. I've been releasing videos every week on YouTube for the last month or so. So go ahead and check that out. It's all trading evergreen videos. Something you can learn from in every single video, at least in my opinion, of course. And on X, I post pretty much daily charts. So if you're into that kind of stuff, then obviously go ahead and follow me on X. What have you got going on, okay?
Well, same as Sean, you can find me on X. I post a lot of interesting stuff, I guess, on the trading. Sometimes I post my wins and losses as well. On YouTube, I'll be changing the strategy a little bit different for 2026. So there will be fewer videos, but much higher quality videos. And then the top 2026 picks and key investment ideas or trading ideas, I will be doing a written form on Substack as well.
Look forward to seeing that for sure. I liked last year's video, so yeah, looking forward to this year's video for sure. Lots of interesting picks. I've actually know a couple as well, but I'm not going to spoil it. Don't worry. But the viewers will be rewarded, that's for sure. But yeah, we'll move on then to the next slide, and this is our past performance. Obviously, last week I picked Barber, and last week you picked NBIS, which is Nebius, I believe. A very close victory for you, but you've won once again. That's 7 out of 8 weeks, but unfortunately, it's not enough for the year. But if you're on this current form, you might be able to just steamroll me for next year. So,
well,
Make
Yeah,
sure.
considering how poor my performance was in the beginning of the year, like look at it, one, two, three, four, like 7, 8 weeks, I was in a loss every single week.
Yeah, not a great start for you. Hopefully more of the same beginning of next year, but we'll see. But make sure you obviously follow us on YouTube or any of us on X to see our performance for next year. But obviously it's light-hearted competition. We just do it for a little bit of fun, nothing malicious, of course. But yeah, no, it's nice to see kind of all our picks from not from the whole year. We only started this probably halfway through the year.
Yeah.
But it's nice to see some of our picks throughout the year. I mean, a few consistent names there. I've had Rubric a few times. You've had Apple a few times there. You've had CoreWeave 3 weeks in a row. So yeah, we definitely have our favourites, and I think that's important within trading. To have not so much favourites, but to have common stocks that you keep coming back to, because you know kind of how they move, or what their volatility is like, and kind of how much they move around the charts, etc. So you can kind of get used to that kind of price action. Anyway, we're moving on. My pick of the week is AMD. Not pick of the year, this is pick of the week. And you can see very clearly on the chart, a very, very simple move that I want to take place, which is my typical move, which is the trend line breakout. I've drawn two possible trend lines here because I just know if I was going to draw one, someone would message me back saying, "Oh, but look at this trend line." But you can see the reason I've drawn them both is because they're both very valid. So even this longer one here still hasn't had a technical breakout. So that has come back down. And obviously, kind of following that price action has come back up to it more recently. Sorry. And then the other one, obviously, that's for the most recent high, come back down. And it's potentially breaking out here at this level. What I wanted to see is kind of a push up to kind of 220, 222, come back down and retest, probably about 216, 218, get in there, and then obviously look for a move higher, obviously towards kind of 250-ish. Probably should have drawn a position on the chart, but you can kind of see what I mean there. So kind of pop up, come back down, and then move up, ultimately kind of towards, they all-time highs up there, all-time highs at 260.
268.
Yeah.
That's 268 to, yeah, 268.
So that's an all-time high up here, where my cursor is. So yeah, very simple move. AMD's been a pretty good stock this year. Of course, I missed the bulk of the move, but I have made my money here and there with AMD. But what's your experience been like with AMD recently?
Interestingly, I was actually debating choosing AMD versus what the pick I chose.
Okay.
But I think for AMD, what I realized that they didn't fill the gap. They actually bounced off that level from 203, and I think the reason they were bouncing off of that was, I think there is this general weakness on the AI trade. But I also felt with the latest release of Google Gemini 3, and then OpenAI going into Code Red, and then slowly, I think the narrative is again shifting back to being a little bit more positive. And I think it's good to be skeptical for the bubble or whatever you want to call it. There's definitely some sort of a bubble, but again, you can still make money on the bubble. I really still think that the gap fill may occur once we have a general drawdown in the market, and that's where I'll probably like to accumulate more AMD once it's below the 200 point. But I think if it can continue to bounce from here, my next level I'll watch is the 228, because that's where we kind of got rejected a couple times. Yeah, that segment here. Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So we're both kind of bullish until otherwise on AMD for now. But like you said, if the market does downturn, you're going to see a lot of the stocks coming back down to fill gaps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's a very exciting time, I think, for longs. But of course, you have to be wary because the market doesn't just go down and go back up again. I mean, it kind of does, but there could always be more downside. If you fill this gap, there could always be more downside. So just be careful of that. Don't go all in to any position. But you should all know that if you're watching this. But yeah, that's my pick of the week. That's AMD. Your pick of the week is next up on the screen, and that's Netflix.
Correct. So we brought Netflix like about 2 or 3 weeks back, and I think the reason I am picking Netflix is I was always trying to get into Netflix, but Netflix was always like trading at 700, 800, $900, and I never bothered to build a position there. Now after the split, I think it's a much more appetizing level that you can actually add Netflix. And we talked about this level of 94, $93 a couple weeks ago, and I think continuously seeing the bounce over there, there's a lot of volume over there, so you're continuously seeing buyers stepping at 93. And you can see it is trading below all moving averages. You have your 200-day moving average, 300-day moving average. So if you're looking to build Netflix as part of your non AI play, even though being in the tech, I think this is a good hedge compared to your typical Google, Microsoft, Meta, NVIDIA, Apple. It gives you a different type of a tech feel, considering what they are offering. Also, with their latest acquisition, or supposed acquisition of Warner Brothers, I think that's gonna, if that were to happen, is gonna give a Netflix really a big boost in their lineup. And I think this is just an amazing stock to own. It used to be part of the FANG group. No longer they call it Magnificent Seven or Eight or Nine, but I think it still deserves a place in your portfolio. And especially for me personally, after the split, I think I want to get back into building Netflix for the long term portfolio. But I'm continuously trading it, and I think seeing the bounce at 94, 93, 94, I think this is the point where I would like to start to accumulate stocks. Not necessarily for trading, but at least a swing trade, or maybe a position trade, in a couple months or so.
Yeah, and just see how the price action develops, and maybe see if it's a swing or long-term position that way, or just kind of.
Yeah, I mean, right now I do want to build it for long term. So I'm starting to accumulate little bit at these 93. So if we do see a downturn, I'll be able to add more. But we are already below 300 days. So if I'm looking to invest in something, my cardinal rule is looking at 200-day and 300-day SMA. And sometimes it is better to add at below 300 SMA than to hope it goes down further and further and further for a quality company. This is not a no name or a $2 billion market cap company. This is still a $400 billion market cap company. 5-10 years down the line, you could double the market cap based on how they are progressing. I mean, their lineup is improving over the years.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're definitely the best streamer out there. I would say it'd be interesting to see what it looks like on the weekly chart. To see where the moving averages are on the weekly chart.
I can Let me
Maybe
just
we can
put
have a look at it later
yeah.
on. But I think
I,
generally it's a nice stock. I like the fact you brought this one up. I'd be looking maybe now, especially as the stock split has taken place, perhaps do some leaps as well. Is that something that you would recommend or look into or something like that?
Yeah, I actually, that's a good point. I did not even think about the leaps, but yes, leap would be a good opportunity. But I would want to wait to see if we get a bounce. On the weekly, Sean, we did get a bounce off the 94.39 level.
Okay, right. Is that what moving average is that?
So moving
If there is
average,
one.
it's still below everything, right? So it's below the 20 and the 50. However, the 200 and 300 SMAs are 61 and 58.
Okay, so still quite a way off down.
Still a
Down
quite
the,
way from a
yeah.
weekly standpoint, yes.
Okay, that's interesting.
But basically, if you are looking at that level, you are looking at the stock going back to the June of 2024, which is a possibility, but not going to happen unless you see the major drawdown in the entire market.
Yeah, I agree. No, definitely one for the watch list. I did have this on my watch list last week, as I've written down here. Someone must have brought it up. Obviously triggering your interest probably for today. But yeah, I think definitely more analysis being done this week has definitely helped my outlook here for Netflix, and hopefully all of the viewers as well. Make sure you put in the comments if you want any tickers to be looked at. We'll get to them in probably about 10 minutes or so. There we go. I found the graphic in the end. Yeah, put your tickers requests in the comments down below. It's obviously a Christmas special, so we're going a little bit longer. So do as many requests as you like, and we'll try to get to all of them when we can. Okay, let's move on to what's next. Okay, this is last year's coverage. Wow, you're dinging away, aren't you?
Yeah, I need to mute the chat. Hold on, give me 1 second.
It's either me or the ding.
No, it's a group chat, and it's off the charts right now. They are just okay. Let's continue.
Have you muted them? Okay, cool.
Yes.
So on the screen here we have last week's picks. I picked last year's pick, sorry. I had SMH and you had NVIDIA, which is funny because this time last year we did this and we didn't know what each other's picks were. And since then, Kaye has told me off and told me I need to pick a stock and not an ETF. So later on in this stream, you'll find that I have picked a stock for 2026. Don't worry. But yeah, of course, I actually won surprisingly as well, which is insane considering that NVIDIA basically takes up 25% of the SMH, but that's okay. I was up 38% on the year. You can see the line there, and Kaye NVIDIA was up 22%. We had a few naysayers as well, I think, in the last stream when we brought these two up. But the year has been the year, and therefore we've had a pretty good year. Any thoughts on these two charts? Semiconductors obviously ruling the world at the moment, so that makes
I
sense,
think
and AI and all that.
I think it's going to be the same next year as well. I mean, whether Nvidia goes up 10% or 15% or 55%, it's still going to go up. Is it going to give you an outsized return compared to some of the other picks? Maybe not. Maybe there will be broadening in the AI space. I think there is a lot more potential in the software space now, considering the build out is continuing to happen. That doesn't mean that Nvidia is going to stop or AMD is going to stop. They will continue to go up. Now, in case of SMH, it just gets the benefit of all the AI chips, because don't forget there was Broadcom, there is AMD in there. So I think that build out will continue to happen. And if you hear the analysts that we are in the third year out of a 10-year build out, I mean, Nvidia has a role to play. We just heard that the China market is opening up for Nvidia chips H200, and there is demand for it. So if Nvidia continues to bolster those massive revenue for next year as well, I don't see why Nvidia is not going to go up to probably 250, 300 level. And I think I think Dan Ives has a price target for, I think, 300 plus on the stock.
Yeah, but his price targets are always quite high, aren't they? So
Yeah, I mean, they are very bullish. He's generally a perma bull, I guess. He will always he's always going to be very bullish on AI trade. I think Nvidia, Google, Apple, Palantir are his like top picks as well. So yeah.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, I think it's been a good year for us in 2025 for these particular picks. And obviously, 2026 will be an interesting year, I think, for our picks. I mean, should we get into them now, or should we have a
Yeah, you want to
just?
first take some comments and then we can reveal our
Yeah,
20.
let's do that. Okay. What have we got here? So we've got from Ken here. I'm rotating to industrials and consumer defense personally. That's why I asked. That was related to earlier's comment around industrials. Perhaps we can have a look at KHC and CALM a bit later on.
Yeah.
And then he says, follows up with that. Of course, compete the sector rotations, but that's my personal strategy when certain sectors don't do as well as I rotate into them. I think that's fair. Of course, rotation is a big part of the market, especially through rate cuts and hikes. Different stocks have different areas. Obviously, the finance sector has done pretty well recently, of course, and obviously tech in general has done massively well. We have Hi here from Coke. Hi. Hope you're well. And of course, a fist and a Santa or cloud. No, that might be a head in the clouds.
Yeah.
Cloud actual. So yeah, hello. And then a couple of Olympics comments down here, which I'm not too sure what that's about. Is it? Do we have Olympics next year?
Well, we have FIFA 2026 in US.
Yeah, I know that, but do you have Olympics as well then, or not?
No, not in 2026.
Oh,
Unless
interesting.
there's a summer Olympics. Let me see when is Olympics. I think
Maybe it is because it's normally an even year, as in like even number, or is it
yeah, we have
2028?
Winter Olympics in 2026. You're absolutely right.
Oh, right. Okay.
But it's going to be held in Italy.
Oh, okay. So it's not USA.
It's not USA. And because the Olympics in USA is in 2028, LA.
Okay, so that might be where it's going wrong then. Perhaps he's put a 6 there instead of 8.
Yeah, and I think we can pick Nike as a audience, one of the audience pick, and look into it. I mean they are doing pretty horribly, even though they did pretty decently well. But Lululemon, Nike, Lululemon actually did pretty well in the China market compared to the USA.
Yeah,
So
this is one of the things one of the stocks I'm actually looking into for next year is Lululemon, just because of that Chinese market. Because it makes sense because China is a big population, and if say half of them buy Lululemon, it's going to be pretty good for them. I know it's very broad way of looking at it, but these things happen. Right, should we move on to the next slide then? Okay.
let's do it.
Right, let me get this thing up here. It's the first pick of the year. You can see that mine is Snapchat. Oh, I don't need that on there, do I really? Because it's already there. Okay, I'll take that off for now. But yeah, no, these are our. Where's my mouse? There it is. Apologies for that, everyone. So our stock picks of the year. So the first one for me, obviously we're going to do another one next week as well. So the first one for me is actually Snapchat. Now it's a bit of a crazy suggestion considering last year I had SMH, which is the ETF. So I've really dumbed it down a bit, and obviously this is Snapchat. It's not an app I use, and it's not an app my generation really uses, if I'm completely honest with you. But I've heard some very good things around the actual company and how it's kind of fundamentally changing. And you can see with my key points at the top there, you can see there's obviously 500 million buybacks. We have user and revenue growth. I was going to put the charts on here in terms of like visually, but it's just going to be too much to look at. So maybe I'll do a separate post on my X channel for that. You can see partnership with Perplexity AI as well. I think that's worth a lot of money. It's going to be integrated into the app, obviously voice recognition, all that kind of stuff as well. New subscription model. I think they've made it slightly cheaper, more accessible. I think they've added a slightly cheaper version. So that's good for revenue, of course. It makes a lot of sense. Snap OS 2.0, so they're obviously increasing their innovation skills. And of course, the last point, which is probably the most important one, which is focus on AI powered performance advertising, which I'm sure a lot of companies are doing, which makes a lot of sense. But with this particular company, I think with the masses it kind of introduced itself to, I think that's key, especially with the younger generation. And lastly, I got this comment basically off of Google AI earlier, so I didn't write it myself. But in essence, 2026 marks Snapchat's push towards moving beyond the smartphone, making AI and AR a natural integrated part of daily life through their hardware, specs and software, blah, blah, blah. One of the other things as well, I don't know why I haven't put it on here, but they're trying to introduce their glasses, the AR glasses, which they have done. They don't look very nice, so hopefully they're going to improve that and make them a bit more accessible. But it's a bit like the Apple Vision Pro, but smaller and obviously more trendy, in my opinion. But yeah, that's the kind of fundamental side, the logical side of the company. And now we're going to turn to the chart. This is obviously a weekly chart you can see on the screen here. We've got a couple of zones. We've got the blue zone down the bottom, another blue zone at the top, which, where's my cursor? Let's get the cursor out. So I'm talking about these boxes here. That's the bottom one. And of course, the top one here. So very, very simply, this is obviously a supply zone. Looking for a bit of buying action here. We have had it in the past, but it's kind of simply kind of dribbled out over the last couple of months, really. But if we just get a break above this trend line here, perhaps with some news around the kind of next earnings call, or maybe even the one after that, potentially. Just a little bit of news around the company, obviously fundamentally pushing forward, especially with those buybacks. I understand I'm talking a lot, but you kind of have to. But the buybacks, I think, is very, very important to kind of reduce those shares. But you can see if we can just get through the trend line, I think that would really encourage price action to the upside. I think, firstly, I want to see this 1150 range kind of touched. I wouldn't be surprised if it came down from there. I kind of retested some of these lower levels, about $10 or so. But ultimately, I want to make it a push towards kind of, what's that, 1550. Obviously, 100% in a year is very audacious, but it can happen. I'm not saying it's going to finish at 1550. I'm not saying it's even going to get anywhere near 1550, but that's the chart that I've got presented in front of me. That's where I see it potentially going. Not if it's not this year, then obviously years beyond that, if they can follow up with the kind of growth and kind of anticipation that they've had in the last couple of quarters at least. So yes, there's lots of good things going for the company. In terms of downside, of course, if we do break these lows of around, I think it's around $7, that would be quite bad, of course, but that's why we have stop losses in trading. So for me personally, me and Kaye have spoken about asymmetrical bets a lot in our time. So if I was to place a trade here, I've been in this stock for a couple of weeks now, kind of accumulating, a couple of months actually, kind of accumulating on these kind of lows, waiting for a break to the upside. But if you have a stop loss kind of even at 650, that's not the end of the world, considering there's a potential 100% on the table. So these are the things you've got to look out for. Obviously, it's not a massive part of my portfolio. It's a small part of my portfolio. That's what it should be with a stock of this this kind of volatile range. But yeah, I think I've spoken enough on this stock. I think it's been a few minutes now. I've just kind of waffled a little bit. But what are your thoughts on this one, on this Kaye? But we have brought it up a few times in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on Snapchat for the year ahead?
So before I share my thoughts, I think one of the things I want to also share with the audience is that we deliberately did not pick the winners, right? I mean, we know for a fact that NVIDIA is going to make good profits. We know Meta is going to make good profits. So we deliberately did not choose those picks. And we are looking at asymmetrical options, right? So places where you can actually get an outsized gain compared to where they are. And some of those names are always, in the dumps. You will not find a stock which is already $50 and then everybody's already behind that stock, and then you go ahead and pick that stock, because generally you have to go against the grain to really look at asymmetrical bets. So with that rant out of the way, I really think that I'm going to put this on my watch list. I might not trade it actively, but I think for me personally, if we do see a breakout, it's a very good leap option here, because I'm not here to
Yeah.
make a big investment into it. I'm not a big fan of Snapchat either, or I'm just not into this whole social media sphere. But considering if the narrative of AI is moving away from, let's say, not moving, but graduating to the next level where these softwares are going to get benefit of AI, I think Snapchat could benefit as well. Um, and if the stock is already trading at $7 and maybe drops to $6 or something like that, I mean, those are absolute lows. I mean, yes, the company could go bankrupt, could go to zero, but it has still survived over this long. So there is definitely things happening. There are catalysts behind it, and for a $6, $7 stock to go to 12 or $15, it's still doable. And if you actually use options here, you will be able to leverage it. You'll be able to use less money to buy
Mm.
100 stocks with one contract, and your leverage will be much higher. And you can get a 2028 January leap option, which gives you 2 years time frame for this thesis to play out. Or if you go the commons route, which is also an option here, which generally I know you will focus on the commons here, i, I like it, and I'm going to put it on my watch list here, because these are some of the asymmetrical bets. You don't have to size this to the biggest portfolio position you have. A small bet, why not?
Yeah, I like your point there on the leaps options for sure. It's on my leaps watch list, so yeah, it's definitely on there. But for now, I have shares, of course. But yeah, looking into leaps, I think would be the best, not the best, but one of the best ways of looking into this as an investment for sure. I was going to say something else, but I can't remember what it was now. That's a bit annoying, off the top of my head there. But I think we've covered Snapchat quite well there. If you've got any comments, obviously leave them in the comment section around Snapchat, whether you think the same or not, of course. But yeah, no, fantastic. That's my pick for this or next year. And we're going to have another pick as well for 2026, but we're going to include that into next week's session. So if you like this kind of coverage for the pick of 2026, then be sure to come back next week at 1 p.m. Eastern time on various platforms. But now we're going to look at Kaye's 2026 pick, which what is it, Kaye?
It's Rivian. So
Hey.
if you've been following me on X, you probably, it won't come as a surprise. And so just a background on Rivian is, I wasn't into Rivian, I'll be very honest, until the first quarter of this year. And I know Sean has been into the EV space for much longer than me. He has traded Rivian many times. He is into Neo and all the other sorts. I have invested in Tesla. I'm a constant investor. So it's one of the best wheel strategies ticker out there. But as I started to get into Rivian and started to kind of learn a little bit more about the CEO, and for me personally, I think understanding the CEO mindset is more important than to just go with the hype. So over the years, or over the couple months, what I have realized that a founder led company generally has a better shot at achieving the vision, and that you can see it in Tesla as well. And now there are Tesla naysayers that they don't think the Rivian is gonna do as well as Tesla. But let's keep that aside. The thesis for 2026 is very simple. They just had an autonomy day, which kind of proved that they are on the right path of going the way how Tesla has went on the FSD, with the addition of additional technologies like radar and lidar. I'm not an expert in radar lidar technology, so I'm not going to get on this argument on whether it is good or not, and we should go vision only. there are many things Elon Musk has promised and he still hasn't delivered. So that to say doesn't that doesn't say that these guys won't succeed. And Waymo has still showed everybody that hey, with lidar and radar you can still run the business. Anyways, the second is what we are seeing is that we have seen Rivian stock after the big pop up throughout the IPO, and when we saw this decline, we have been forming this very long base. The stock has been trading in these low levels for multi years now. So this is a very ideal candidate, ripe candidate for a breakout, and that's exactly what we are starting to see now. The next big catalyst is the R2 launch. So the first half of 2026 will see their mass market vehicle launch, which will be the R2. So for those folks who are not very familiar with what R2 is going to be a $45,000 mid-size SUV, which is one of the most popular categories of cars that we see in the market or on the roads, and Model Y is one of them. So now basically the way they are positioning, they are not positioning Rivian as a Tesla killer, they are positioning Rivian as an option, so that in ICE versions you have many options when you're looking at a RAV4, a Mazda CX-9, or many other options. Similarly, in electric vehicles there is no other option except Model Y. Thirdly, we have the gross margins improving. Yes, the net margins are still in loss, they are still losing money, but what you want to see and what the investors want to see at Wall Street is, are they trending in the right direction? And as of right now, they are trending in the right direction, and that's what matters. Also, we had this influx of $6 billion from Volkswagen. No company is going to invest money blindly into this. Same thing with Amazon. The tie up with Amazon, with all the new delivery, all the new demand for the electric trucks, that's still piling up. So you can see the capital coming in and the validation coming in from Amazon. And I still think, could Amazon down the road acquire Rivian? Seems unlikely, but it could be a possibility. But again, that's just speculation. And third and fifth, we already talked about the autonomy. So for me personally, on the technical side, it's not going to go from $20 to $100. I'm not that crazy, but there are levels we should be watching. The first level is $25, which is the price target for most analysts. And take price targets with a grain of salt, because these analysts, they change price targets on the whim. Once the stock has already run up, they'll make the price target change. So take it what it is worth. The next target will be the $30, and basically these are all your previous highs, which we'll consider as resistance, and then it'll be 40. So these are the different levels that we will target throughout the year to see if the thesis continues to stick in place or not. And that's pretty much it from my side on Rivian.
Yeah, I think that's a really good presentation you just brought to the table there with Rivian. Really good thesis points. Excuse me. And you touched on the technicals there, which I think is important. Obviously, the recent breakout in the trend line, it can only really go well from here, in terms of breakout point of view. Obviously, we will get a pullback at some point. This is how stocks work. I think one of the thesis points I wanted to touch on personally was the customer kind of feedback that they've had since inception. Really, it's always been really, really positive. Obviously, with the R1 models, and obviously hopefully with the R2 models coming in the future, and even R3. Obviously, they're releasing R3 as well, which is kind of a very smaller vehicle, probably not so popular in the US, but that will probably come more towards Europe eventually. But yeah, I think the customer feedback that you consistently get with Rivian, I mean, you said that last week or week before, something like that, they've won awards multiple years in a row, in terms of
3 years in a row, yeah.
3 years in a row, according to their kind of vehicles and the kind of experience that they've had. Obviously, technology within the vehicles, people are very happy with them, very clean, very efficient. So yeah, I think that speaks volumes when you're running any business, is the customer feedback. And yeah, that's one of the points I wanted to touch on there. And obviously, the second one was, in terms of my technical analysis, what I've got on my chart, which you obviously won't be able to see here. But I see the stock kind of getting actually towards 50, 60 next year. Probably not staying there, but I see it kind of going up to there for sure. In my own opinion, I know it's a bit crazy, but these things do happen, especially with these types of stocks. I mean, look at how far it's fallen just on the left side of the screen there. I know it's early 2022, but these moves can happen. So I think we can get to about 50, 60 and obviously come back down and maybe finish the year around 30, in my opinion personally. But we'll see how that kind of plays out for sure. But Rivian is one of my biggest positions in my portfolio. Personally, it has been for a while. I know you're building up your position. I know you're very excited, but this is not, and we're not telling you to buy the stock. We're just giving our thoughts and feelings and perspectives on the stock at its current stage, and obviously anticipation for the year ahead. So just don't take it. It's not financial advice essentially. It's just more of a guide, and more kind of our perspectives on both stocks actually, not just RIVN, but on the one I brought to the table, which was, what did I bring to the table? I've forgotten already. Snapchat. Yeah, Snapchat. There you go. But yeah, awesome picks. Obviously 2026 is going to be an important year for a lot of people. We're going to have 2 more picks next week as well. Don't forget. So make sure you're here at 1 p.m. Eastern time on the same platform. So we're going to have 2 more for 2026. I've waffled enough now. Shall we move on to
let's do the audience request now? Yeah, exactly.
Audience request. This is what people have been waiting for. And we're 45 minutes in.
Oh my god.
What are we doing? We'll get rid of that for now. Yeah. So, do you think 2026 is going to be a profitable year for UK?
I mean, I'm gonna do. I'll definitely hope and pray that 2026 is a profitable year, and I really hope I win it, because if I win, you benefit.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's a really good way of thinking about it, actually.
Yeah.
I benefit either way, so I've got them both. But yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah. If I win, your biggest portfolio position actually, really goes to the moon.
Oh, it's not my biggest, but it's up there for sure. Right, okay, that's the weekly chart into the daily there.
All right, whenever you're ready, we'll start with ALAB.
Okay.
So ALAB was requested by Manram.
We did actually have a couple of comments while we were doing that as well. We've got Space Stocks here from Golfing Fisherman Surfer. Very busy man by the looks of it. But yeah, Space Stocks. We've got LUNR and Rocket Lab. I'm actually in Rocket Lab and I'm loving it. So yeah, power to it. Maybe we can have a look at those a bit later on. Space Stocks are an interesting one. What's your feelings on space actually while we're here?
Interestingly, I actually have not invested in any space stock, and I know that's one sector that probably I haven't spent enough time on it. I'm mostly focused on very, very specific sectors, the typical AI play, the software, second derivatives, and basically now I'm getting into this whole EV. Even though it's against the grain right now, every metric that you see, electric vehicles are going to do bad if you hear all the naysayers. But hey, that's how asymmetrical bets are.
Yeah, so space stocks not for you.
Over 100% in all my RIVN positions, because I'm not getting in at $20. I already got in at 10, 11, 13, 15.
So the space stocks are not for you at the moment. Is that just because it's too early, or
it's the point is I only have so much mental capacity.
You've got a lot on the plate. Yeah,
right.
That makes sense.
50 different units, because I need to get more. I need to get a deeper understanding on the stock, right? So that's why I trade very similar names. I don't go out and about and trade every other name under the sun.
I think that's a very important point. If you can stick to the same names when you're trading, that makes a lot of sense, especially in the early stages. If you're just starting out trading, I think having those familiar names is definitely a way to go. We'll move on to ALAB then. It's our first chart of the day.
Yeah.
It looks like we've done a bit of technical analysis here on previously. We've had a bit of a breakout, come back down, retested this sort of area. Do you trade this name much at all, or not so much?
Not at all.
No, same.
Not at all. It's that was a pretty strong candle on Friday, I would say.
Very good candle. Yeah, it's broken through the moving averages as well. Let me change my chart. This swing chart.
Man, there are just so many messages. I'm like, I need to. How do I?
You're very popular today, Kaye. So
it's
all you muted it.
No, I need to figure out how to close this messaging. It's very annoying.
But yeah, I've just switched up the chart to my swing trading chart. And you can see here, obviously, the moving average is coming in nicely. A really nice bounce of the 200 moving average, which is this red line kind of flowing through the screen here. It kind of almost struggled to get through, actually, kind of mid parts of November towards the late parts of November, but then really bounced off of it. Don't know what this day was. That's a very aggressively sold day. So it might be worth looking into of what caused that. But I think, like Kaye said, Friday's candle was very, very positive, breaking out this potential trend line. You could draw this anyway. You could even draw that there, and it could be hitting resistance. So just be careful with where you're drawing the lines. Don't be too biased. Don't be too hopeful, because we've all been there, to be fair. But yeah, just be careful when you're drawing your lines. I think if we can get past this area here at 174-ish, I think that would be then a good recipe to kind of get in the trade and look for upside with a nice tight stop loss, obviously following it up as the trade matures. Any thoughts on ALAB before we move on?
They report earnings in February, so you still got couple weeks left. Then they have a very good up revisions from most analysts. So,
Couple of
I mean,
weeks.
if you're looking for a swing trade, I think any weakness you can probably look to add. They have had a pretty impressive earnings history. They haven't missed any EPS or revenue, and their revenue is growing at a pretty click rate, like over 100%. They're growing revenue. So they reported earnings. They reported the revenue as 230 million for 11/4, and then now they are expecting the estimate to be about 249, so about 250 million. So that will be up 20 million more, and they did beat the previous earnings by 24 million. So if you're looking at beating 24, so they could be around what, 265, 270 million if they beat in the same range. That's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I've just written it down on my list there, because we've got the MACD kind of crossing over in the middle as well, which is quite nice. If it's crossing down the bottom, I don't really like that too much. But if it's crossing over through the middle, it's just personal preference. I don't really trade on MACD. It's just nice to see it doing that. But yeah, I like ALAB. I think it's a great first suggestion. To know who that was.
Next,
Ram.
Cloudflare.
Yeah.
Year to date, this stock has returned 81%.
You wouldn't think it, would you, from what we see on the screen here? But yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean, the whole year is actually all the way down here. Do you like Cloudflare? I don't really trade these names.
I actually did trade Cloudflare a couple times, but this is not like a regular name in my portfolio. So it's mostly on the weaknesses I generally get in, and then I try to sell covered calls, but not a regular name that I sell.
I think if it was to get back down to the 200 mil average for maybe a second bite, obviously we did bounce off of it recently back in November. If we come back down again, then might be interesting. But I just think it's looking a bit weak here. You can see the lower highs forming. Yes, there's a higher low, but of course, I don't know. I think I'll probably stay away from this. It's not too concrete in terms of trend here.
Also, because it got rejected at the 50 SMA as well, and it was a hard decline at 50 SMA. So what we want to see is a clean break from 50 SMA. Because go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, so if it doesn't happen, then we'll continue to see this decline, and the 200-day SMA is slowly creeping at 181. So I would definitely watch that area, because if it comes to 200-day SMA, there is really no volume there, and you could slide further down. But on the contrary, for their next earnings, you have 27 up revisions. So
yeah, that's not bad, is it?
Yeah, that's amazing. So clearly shows that the Wall Street is at least very bullish on the stock for next quarter. So maybe you could look at adding it to your swing trade, or even building a long-term position on the weakness, especially around 200-day SMA.
Yeah, another kind of scenario here as well. This is the weekly chart. Maybe if it comes back down to kind of this trend line that's been kind of formed here over the long time. So if we are going to get a broader market downturn, then perhaps this sort of area of 100, 170, 160, that sort of area could be interesting for long-term investors. I know that's where I would be looking to add to, because these are the big areas to look for if you do get broader market downturns. Okay, Cloudflare, nice.
Next is AXON. I think we have talked about this before.
Yes, I've got lines on the chart, which is always a good start. I don't know what we mentioned. I think it was a gap fill by the looks of it, because we had a gap here. And then it did fill by the looks of it, and it kind of continued to come back down, filled that gap. It's got a bit of a push now, a bit of a higher low here, but obviously you've got the 200 mil average and the 50 mil average in the way. It's just kind of touched out on Friday. Again, I wouldn't be buying this anytime soon.
Yeah, it definitely has a lot of resistance along the way, and it would need some strong catalyst to break those resistance. You got the 50 SMA, you got the 200 day, you got a 300 SMA. There's just a lot of resistance here. Now the price action looks very positive because it did have a nice bounce of the 20 SMA, and the Friday candle is pretty strong. I would say it was an engulfing candle, but again, those moving resistance, that will be key. So depending on what kind of catalysts are coming in, um,
Yeah, it's not a small stock either. It's this $500-$600 stock pretty much. So.
yeah, exactly. It's not a cheap stock.
I realized I put the graphic, the little bells in the top corner. They are where the actual stock is. So no one actually knows which stock is which. So let me try and have a look at getting the watermark on there for now. You can see that? Oh, you can kind of see that.
Now we can see it. Now we can see it. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Right. What's next then? Okay.
After that is Palantir. Oh, the king of. What is it?
Well, I guess we've got to spend a bit of time on this one, haven't we?
What does Dan Ives call Palantir? I think he calls the Messi of AI, something like that.
It just doesn't stop, does it? It's absolutely fantastic.
It's amazing. I mean, what a run this company had. I don't regret selling. Even though
I do regret selling.
I would have Albert made more money making it, but I didn't have that big of a position, so it wouldn't have really made a dent in my portfolio.
I'm really happy for the people that have made money, though.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. It's a generation. I think a lot of people made generational money on Palantir, Robinhood.
Yeah, so far even, to be fair.
So far, yeah.
But yeah, I think from a chart perspective point of view, this is a massive. Where am I? Where's my thing? Highlighter. There we go. There's a massive double bottom here, which is really nice. It's not a double bottom in the traditional sense, but there's two very big points here within the chart that we can see there's a nice bounce. Last 4 weeks have been pretty outstanding, considering the market in the last 4 weeks hasn't been. I think that's important to say that Palantir has shown strength throughout of that. And it hasn't really had earnings in the last 4 weeks either. So we had earnings actually kind of dribbled down. So you can see where investors' mindsets are, at least for the longer term. It wants to go higher. But yeah, the trend is your friend for sure. If you're holding shares from, $20, $30, $40, even I know some people have it below 10 still, which is just incredible. Absolutely incredible.
I personally know one friend who owns it from 750, 775.
Yeah, I mean, he must be very happy, right? Or she?
Yeah, he's very happy. He is very happy, and he has few hundred shares, so he is sitting at a very good chunk of profit.
Awesome. That's what we like to hear. There's not really much else to add, though. I mean, obviously, we've got double bottom here, nice positive price action. I think the next step would be to break, obviously, recent highs, or all-time highs, should we say, which is $208, which sounds crazy to say. But if we can break that, then obviously more upside to come for sure. Until we break this is the 20 moving average here, the yellow line flowing through the screen. It's threatened to break it a couple of times in the last couple of years. But I think the 50 is probably the main one that's got a hold going into 2026. And that's what, $60 away. So there's no threat of that happening anytime soon, unless something really bad comes and happens for Palantir, but it doesn't seem likely because they are flying as a company themselves, let alone a stock, which makes sense. Okay, we'll move on.
Next is Snowflake.
Oh, this is one of your stocks. This is the weekly chart. I'm still on.
2025 picks, which I did, sell out. I did take profit off from my trade, so I don't hold it going to the year end. But it's getting interesting for me to probably relook at Snowflake, because Snowflake will be the third derivative, getting into 2026 from an AI play perspective. So just like how Palantir is succeeding, especially in the government sector and getting into those larger organizations, Snowflake is across larger, mid-size, and smaller organizations. But the interesting part is the gap fill that is coming up, and 200-day SMA is right around that corner. I think you're on the monthly chart or weekly chart, right?
I am. I'm just playing around. Sorry.
Yeah. So on the daily chart, basically, we are right around the point of control. This is where the majority of the base is. So honestly, for me personally, I would continue to wait and watch and see if the stock can fill that gap and come even closer to around the let me put I will be getting interested around the 190 area. That is where I will start to get interested into the stock and maybe start to get back into building out a position for another swing trade, because there's another gap around the 184 to 187. So if we continue to see the decline and filling this gap, there's a very good possibility that it hits around 300-day SMA and fills that gap too.
That's down here. Kaye's
Exactly.
talking about this sort of area.
Yeah.
I was too busy faffing around with the chart to obviously really hear what you were really saying. But I know you like the stock for the longer term, and you talk about gaps. Obviously, this one being the main one. But what I did see actually, now we have that line there at 184. It'd be interesting to see what it was on the monthly, because I kind of like to see what it was on the monthly. Well, it's quite a lot lower. But we've got a couple of moving averages here coming in at the monthly. We can see a nice bounce recently, 5 months ago.
Yeah.
If we're going to see the same, then I would expect it to come down to that 200 level, which I assume you've just said.
Yeah, it's right in the gap. The first gap will be right in the middle of filling that gap.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, so 202 is a level of interest for me. Let me write that down before I forget. Okay. Yeah, snow. Interesting.
Yeah. Next up is Rubrik, which I know you have been trading. I think this is an amazing stock, which I mean I've been trading in and out of it, but not something I trade on a regular basis.
Yeah, Rubrik's a funny one. I did have a trade in it long time. Well, let's say long time ago, back in August, September. I was kind of accumulating, hoping for a breakout of this this kind of this box here. You can see on the screen, the big blue one. And it kind of did, and I was thinking, oh, fantastic, I've got the move. It's going to make a move towards 106, which I have already still drawn on the screen here. And then subsequently, earnings happened, which these things happen if you hold it through earnings. I did sell half the position in going into earnings. I think that's important to say. You know, I didn't risk the whole position because that would be ludicrous. Obviously, I think in the end, I think it was just below break even, so I didn't lose much money in the end. But you can see this is what happens sometimes when you trade. You don't always win with earnings. It's a binary event. These things happen. But yeah, subsequently, it's kind of dribbled down since. I haven't really looked at it since either. So yeah, it's one of those trades that just didn't work out for me this year. But the thesis was there. I followed my thesis. I followed my trading plan. That's the best I can really do on any given trade, let alone this one. But where it is now, I kind of like it. So my nose is kind of blocking up a little bit. But yeah, we've got where it is now. We've got the 3 moving averages, got 20, 50, and the 200 right there. We've had on Wednesday a big red candle and a nice positive reaction off of that. So this could actually be a buying point, dare I say it, just because it looks like it's kind of wanted to come out of here. And you could have a small move from 78 to 88. And that's just, you know, it's over 10%. It's a fair target. And I want to draw that out for people to see. So you've got a trend line obviously clearly here. And then we'll draw probably like this as well, actually.
While you're drawing, I'll also say this: like before they reported the earnings, I mean the stock was like in the low 70s. There was a lot of chatter around buying the stock and waiting for the earnings, and it did print. And I really hope that folks who got in were able to like exit out and not get greedy on going to the moon, because look what happened.
Yeah, exactly. It's easy to get greedy in these situations. I think it depends how much you've got your portfolio as well. I mean, if it's like a 0.05% of your portfolio, then you can probably afford to kind of keep it going through earnings. But if it's in the 5 to 10% portion of your portfolio, then you should really probably think about what you're doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the position I'm looking at getting. Obviously, the stop loss is quite big for now. That is a 8% stop loss, which is not out of the. It's not that bad, really. But obviously, if we do get a move in the next couple of days, you know, kind of into the 82, 83 territory, I would very quickly move that stop loss up to just below the 200 moving average, and therefore it's not such a big loss then. First target profit would be 88. So I think it's nice and conservative. You could probably bring it up here as well to 91. And I'd probably take half the position, just let the rest run and trail up my stop loss. But I haven't talked too much about our kind of strategy in this particular stream, have we? Maybe we could have a look at that in the next couple of stocks. But yeah, that's Rubric. We kind of stayed on that one for a while, didn't we?
Yeah. Okay. Next up is a stock called TE. I'm not sure what the stock is. It's called T1 Energy.
This is a new one for us here on this stream.
Correct.
It is $6.43, Kaye.
And it's a Wall Street has a strong buy on energy, and the short interest is not that high; it's only 6%. So I'm not sure the reason I think the stock is brought up is because year to date the stock has returned 150%, and in 1 year the stock has returned 255%. Crazy.
That's really, really good. It doesn't look like it's slowing down anytime soon.
Yeah, it's like a $1.81 last January.
This reminds me of Brigetti. Do you remember Brigetti Computing?
Yeah, RGTI, right?
Yeah, I bought that at $1 and sold it at $3. I thought, fantastic! I made so much money on that, and it's like I don't know what it is now. I don't even want to look, but it's very high.
Now you made me curious. Let me look it up.
Okay, well, don't. Yeah, okay.
I won't tell you. That's fine. Okay.
It's been volatile, I must admit.
I see where you're going. Okay, I won't tell you the price.
Oh, no, go on. I think the viewers want to know now.
$3.
What's that?
$23.
$23. And there you go, folks. That's how you don't win money. Anyway, back to this chart. T1 Energy. Ticker symbol TE. If we can see a very clean bounce off the 20-moving average, which we haven't seen in the past. That must be new for the stock. Yeah, I mean, higher highs, higher lows, I think is probably going to be the theme here. Until that's broken, I wouldn't go.
But I'm going to add this into my watch list specifically because just the energy sector in general. Because most folks, they're as per their analysis, that energy is going to play the biggest role when it comes to the AI, right? I mean, of course, chips are there, software is there, this and that, but how do you actually power that? And that's energy. So that's why I think generally the energy stocks, even the stock, I think RIVN is an energy stock, right? If I'm not wrong, let me just double check.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Right, and there are a couple others like that as well.
I mean, it'd be tricky to buy this here, but definitely one for the watch list for sure, as you just said.
Yeah, no, it's tricky to buy, but I think keeping these crazy bets, on your watch list sometimes does help.
Yeah, we've got a comment here as well from Ken. Never regret selling on speculation. I appreciate that, Ken.
100%.
Yeah. Okay, sweet. We've covered TE nicely. We've added both of these to our watch list. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to put that on there. We've added this one to both of our watch lists, so it'll be interesting to see what happens in 2026. Yeah, what's next?
Next up is KHC.
KFC?
No, not KFC. K as a kite, H as a horse, C as a cat.
Gotcha. I thought, yeah, KFC then.
KFC. I don't know. I'm gonna stay away from KFC in general.
I haven't had it for at least 10 years, I don't think.
That's the worst. Oh my god.
Okay, KHC. This is Kraft Heinz Company. This must be a dividend paying stock, right?
Yeah. It's the tomato sauce. That's what comes to my mind.
Beans, tomatoes. Yeah.
And the reason is because your forward dividend yield is 6.53%. So it's really amazing. Especially from it, and I think we keep talking about trading, and sometimes we just get lost into these all high growth stocks. But don't forget, a dividend investment is one of the best ways for financial independence. Like for folks who don't want to do trading or are not interested in trading, I think they can go the dividend investing route, which is literally passive income. Like you invest in companies that pay dividends, have a growth, they increase their dividend growth. There's nothing wrong with that, and I think I know that there are a lot of YouTubers or there are a lot of influencers who push dividend investing, and I think folks should look into it who are not really interested in doing day trading, swing trading, options, and stuff like that. It's a good alternative.
It's definitely, so there's different strategies or kind of approaches to investing generally throughout kind of age groups as well. So kind of in your 18 to 30 bracket, you typically go for kind of growth stocks because you kind of you don't have so many responsibilities, generally. And as you get older, as you get kids and kind of responsibilities and stuff like that, you tend to kind of move into kind of blue chip stocks and kind of dividend stocks, just for that kind of stability. 'Cause you need to take that money out, then you can just take it out there and then. Whereas a growth stock, if it's down 80%, you're not going to take that money because you know it's down 80%. Although to be fair, if you're down 80%, you picked the wrong stock. But yeah, no. Going back to this one, Kraft Heinz Company. Ken also says it owns Maxwell House Coffee. I don't know what that is. Must be a US thing.
Yeah. So it's a coffee company. Yep.
Yeah,
I know what it's.
And it will benefit from Trump's tariff cuts for coffee.
Well, I really hope, because I mean we got tariffs across the board for every single product category. So definitely, I think there's going. I mean, year to date, the stock is down 20%, but you have definitely made up based on the dividends that you have received over the year.
Yeah, I mean, since this is 2020 over here, where my kind of wobbling my cursor hasn't really moved. It's down for the last 5 years. So, but yeah, like you said, dividend paying company, you don't really care if they go up or down. Really, you just want to pay money.
Basically are investing in good quality companies which are paying dividends. It's not a growth company. You're not going to get a price increase of 50% plus they pay dividend. That's not going to happen.
No. Okay. Cool. Let's move on.
A similar company called CALM, Calm.
Cal-Main Foods. This is back to our industrials conversation we were having earlier.
Also, the dividend forward dividend yield is 6.43, so very, very good, dividend yield. Although that is a Berkshire owned company, and that's very interesting. It's a packaged food and meats.
Interesting. Yeah, I hesitate to do technical analysis on dividend companies, especially when there's solely dividend companies, just because they don't really. Well, but they kind of do trade to technicals, I guess, in a certain way. So maybe this is a bit of a bounce here.
Yeah, I mean, from a technical standpoint, it's basically if you're going to add into your long-term portfolio,
exactly. Yeah.
Where do you add? So I think having some technical analysis, even if you're doing dividend investing, I think it makes a lot more sense, because you would want to own these companies as cheaply as possible. So below 200-day, 300-day SMAs, below the trend line, below, if your RSI is in the dumps of 20s and 30s, you would want to buy those for long term.
Here's an interesting question. Obviously, earlier we spoke about tax loss harvesting.
Mm-hmm.
If you're down on a dividend company, which sounds like in the last couple of suggestions we might be, would that be something that you use to tax loss harvest, or is that a silly question?
Well, if my entire portfolio is about dividend investing, then yes, I don't have an option. Yeah. But if I have a mix, then I would actually get rid of those speculative names first. So I give you an example. Let's say, for example, I own 3M, I own AbbVie, which I actually do. I don't own a McDonald's, and then I have an AMC, and then I have OKLO, and I have I don't know, give some random names. I would probably get rid of those random names which are in losses, because you want to sell stocks that are in much, or let's say Beyond Meat, for example. I do actually own Beyond Meat, which is 90% loss. So I keep those investments to actually slowly reduce my losses. To do tax loss harvesting. So I don't really just sell them. I sell them deliberately during tax loss harvesting.
I'll ask that question. Maybe viewers might be interested about that. Yeah, I think going back to Calm, which is Cal-Main Foods, this could be an interesting point to definitely add to a long-term position, especially if you invest in it for dividend repayments. Okay, we'll move on.
Next is Nike.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, this is the wrong one.
Nike got hammered, and I think one of the reasons is because, if I'm not wrong, I think their China sales did not do very well.
Did they just post earnings then? Oh, they did, didn't they? Yeah.
Reported earnings last week, and they got hammered. I think the US sales did well, but the China sale did not do well. Opposite to Lululemon, their US sale was down 2%, but their China sale went up a lot. And I can honestly tell you, again, ad hoc experience. I was only in 3 cities of China, but 2 of them were tier 1 cities and 1 was a tier 2 city. And I did see a lot more Lululemon footprint in malls, as opposed to Nike footprint. Now,
There you go.
that's not to say that I did not see hundreds of people going into Lululemon coming out with bags. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I just saw a lot more stores in Lululemon in all the big malls in Shanghai, Shenzhen, even in Nanjing, whereas opposed to Nike per se. Nike stores were there, but not as many.
And this is the monthly chart we've got on the screen.
I saw a lot more folks actually moving towards. They have this Chinese brand. What was the name of it? I think it's Anta. Let me see. It's called Anta, ANTA. So there's a lot of inspiration from Adidas, Nike. If you look at that brand, so that was pretty popular as well for Chinese.
We've got a comment here from Ken again. Okay, so you guys are more tech/growth focused. Okay, I see. So you guys not buying from industrials, financials, or low growth sectors? I think we do. We do buy. I have them kind of mostly in ETFs, to be fair. What are your thoughts on that comment there, Kaye? I'll put it back on the screen.
Yeah, no. So we mostly focus on trading. So generally, when you're trading, you would like to trade where there's a lot more price action. So price action generally comes in the growth and tech side. So your first statement is absolutely good. We mostly focus on that. I do own some of dividend investing stocks. I have McDonald's, I have AbbVie, I have 3M, but I generally tend to rotate out of them. Depending on if I get decent capital appreciation, I will rotate out of them and put the money back into tech. But yeah, precisely, both of us are mostly growth or hyper growth investors / traders.
Yeah, I mean it's Trading Weekly. It's the name of the stream. So there you go. There's the answer there. But we do have those stocks. I guess we don't talk about them as much. I guess because of the nature of the podcast. I can always say that. Stream. What's next?
Okay, next is LUNR. I think now we are getting into the space stuff. Unless is this a space? Let me see. Yeah,
it is, yeah.
Yeah.
What a good day on Friday, didn't it? Wow.
Yeah, well, their short interest is 21.5.
37% up.
Crazy, huh?
It's got one hell of a gap it just created as well. Just here. I mean, if you got in there, I mean, I can't really complain. I've got RKLB and it's kind of doing a similar thing, but this one looks like a kind of ascending channel actually. Oops. Let me draw that out there for people to see. Yeah, so there could be resistance on Monday, but like you just said, with the short interest, that could just blow straight through that.
Yeah,
what would be interesting is if it. Sorry, Kaye.
No, I'm saying, and a lot of times, when you don't have enough volume, you could see these crazy moves.
I think what would be interesting if obviously it does, the move plays out, the volume kind of come back down. If it comes back down to this support line here, that might be interesting for a small short-term play. I'm not saying it's a long-term investment. Judging by the barcoding that's happening here, it's probably not. I'd have to look more into it, of course, but yeah, no. We've got another comment here, which seems to be a bit more of a funnier comment. Is it possible to earn $5 with a 300 in some stock? Is that related to dividends, perhaps?
Is it possible to earn $5 with 300 in some stock? I have no idea, man. I don't understand that.
I mean, you could put $300 into a stock and get $5 profit. That's what I don't know what that percentage is. It's not much. So if that's what you mean,
make $5 sure. With $300, that's not a problem. But
yeah, you can easily turn $300 into $5 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next up, yeah. That's the one you're trading, right?
It is, yeah. I'm having a great time with it as well. I took profits on it.
That was a crazy move on Friday, huh? From all the way from 61 going up to $70, 70 and a half.
So I bought it here. I'll show you what I had before. The line's probably still somewhere in there, but so I had the break. So the 200 moving average, obviously part of my confluence, and the break of this trend line coming down. And obviously subsequently then obviously it flew up. I don't actually trade with the moving averages. I trade with the cloud, which is like a congregation of all the moving averages. And then I just took profits here at 65. I got really lucky, I must admit. It obviously doesn't matter now because it's back up there, but this little touch here last Friday, that's my line. So I got really lucky with that kind of touch, that kind of sell limit order. And obviously this week's been fantastic, blowing through 65, up above 70. I see it kind of going
Is it
all-time highs pretty soon.
is it I think it's already at all-time high, right? I mean, your all-time high intraday was 73.97, so you're almost there.
Oh, I don't have that on here.
Yeah, that
Um,
you're almost at all-time high. Like if you look at the intraday highs was 74.14 back in October 17th.
oh, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. So 74 I've got.
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah, so not quite there yet, but we're definitely almost there.
you're looking to break that. And crazy. I mean, you guys got like 176% return this year on this stock.
Yeah,
Crazy.
if you got it from the beginning of the year, yeah, for sure. But I think it's important to say that these stocks are very momentum based. If you get like we had it with the quantum stocks at the beginning of the year or end of last year, I can't remember what it was. They absolutely flew. They went mad. But
Right.
there will be a time when they come back down, won't there?
See, on December 31st, the stock was $22. Like, and then in November, the stock was like a $14 stock.
Last year, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
2020.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then even like running up to $30 during the April downturn, the stock was cut in half to 13 $14, and then it just ran after that. So
yeah.
so
It's been a good run.
look at the volatility of the stock. It goes up and then crashes down and then has another run up. Like you actually were able to buy the stock at $37 last month, like
Yeah,
1 month ago, around Thanksgiving.
I mean my average price is about 44, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm doing okay for now.
So which means that you can do a lot of swing trading on this particular stock.
Yeah, or this particular industry as well. You've got ASTS, which goes mad.
AST.
Apparently
Okay,
LUNR as well. Yeah.
interesting.
Have we
Uh,
got any more stocks on the ticker?
yeah, we have about two more. AUR.
Aurora. This is $4.16 stocks. This is a penny stock.
Let's see. What do they do? They are in application software. Okay. So this is they are developing a platform that brings a suite of self-driving hardware, software, data services together to adapt and interoperate various vehicles types and application. They're actually in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, so 6 hours drive from where I live. It's a pretty new company. It was founded in 2017, so very interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'd be buying it here. From a
I mean,
technical point of view,
this
I'd have to do obviously more
yeah,
research into the
this
company.
would be like a speculative. Um, it's basically a speculation, right? And I reason I can understand why, because it's probably IPO'd in 2021. The stock ran up to $17, and since then, most of the post IPO pricing you can see is like down to $4. But if you trade these kind of names, right? I mean, you can pretty much, if you had bought the stock in like 150, 160, and you swing traded all the way to 10, $11, I mean, that's just a pattern you can.
I mean, that's nice to see. This line just drawn. I'll have to bit more detail, but it looks like a bit of a wedge we've got drawn here. So there could be a potential big move coming
Also,
to the upside
also,
or downside.
also, if you think about it, right, considering what they do, and I don't know much, but I'm just this is another speculation that I'm throwing it out there. So you have Tesla, who have their own software. They do everything themselves in house. You have Waymo. They do their own everything in house. Now, if other companies are going to get into this whole autonomy, robotaxi, and stuff, They need companies like these who are actually building softwares for autonomy, which they can actually include in their stack because they don't have either the know-how or the resources or the money or whatever be the case, or time. So could this be a Uber acquisition? Could this be a any other company acquisition who is planning to get into the whole autonomy phase? I mean, that could be one. I mean, I don't know much about the company, but I'm just assuming and speculating here based on what they are doing. And they have a buy from Wall Street. So interesting. I'm going to throw it into my.
Yeah, I put it on my list for today. We've got Davide again saying, obviously this is the guy who wants $5 into $300,
Yeah.
something like that. He said maybe this stock. Well, there you go. Do your research. I wouldn't just go ahead and buy it. These stocks do have a tendency just to kind of continue going down, especially with this is a weekly chart, and we've got all of the moving averages just above it. Resistance of the trend line here. We want to wait for the stock to break out of this trend line for sure. You may not get a retest on a stock like this. I think it's a bit too volatile, but you probably get a bit of resistance here. Maybe not come all the way down, but maybe somewhere there and make a move higher. Not that dramatically, but you know what I mean.
So look at the latest comment from golfing fisherman surfer.
Oh, here we go. I like this comment. What was it? Aurora Innovation got a partnership with NVIDIA at the start of the year. Recently, in an interview on TV, the CEO said that 2025 was a testing phase, 2026 is the rollout phase. I can feel your excitement building in this stock now, Kaye.
No, I definitely need to look into this one. It's not something that I was even aware of. But
And this is precisely why we do these streams. One, because it's fun to do, of course, but two, we get ticker requests, not only to help the viewers but to help us as well. And I'm not saying this one's going to go up 100%, but it's got potential, and we thank you for that. Who brought this one up?
I think let me just double check who. I think it might be golfing fisherman.
Golfing, fisherman, surfer. Yeah, the busy man.
Yeah.
Awesome. Golfing, fishing, and surfing.
Yeah, he was the one. Yep.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you for that. We'll move on to the next one.
The last one is the craziest one, OKLO, with zero revenue.
I saved this earlier on my phone, a screenshot, because I quite like the chart, and I can't remember what it is,
but it just goes to show, right? There is nothing impossible. If anybody says that, hey, this price action cannot happen, anything is possible.
Exactly. Yeah, I can't remember what the visual was on my phone for that. What are your thoughts on kind of nuclear stocks in general? Okay.
I mean, it's definitely a momentum play. Something that I generally am not a. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love momentum. When I know the company, I know the stock, I generally tend to stay away from these because I have burned my hands more often than I have won.
Yeah, I mean, that's the nature of these stocks, though, isn't it?
Right? And also, I unfortunately have less conviction. So let me give you an example. So, for example, if I'm trading NVIDIA and I have put $100,000 in NVIDIA, it can drop to $20,000. I'm in a loss of 80,000. I'm still much more confident that it's going to come back. But I won't have the same confidence if I put 100,000 in OKLO and it goes to 20,000, right?
No, I agree with that. But you can see the technicals on the screen here. The pattern we have the descending wedge. Typically a bullish movement. When that happens, it's very
subjective.
Literally, yeah. But it's getting tighter, so you can see that's where we are. We're sitting at the 200 moving average as well, at least on my chart. I do have a support level here of $68, which you could very easily kind of move that around because there's lots of price action around this area. In fact, what I would do is do one of my typical zone drawings, which I've been doing recently.
And the funny part about this particular stock is their IV is so high. Their IV is almost like 94%. So for a $8,000 stock, okay? So if you're buying, let's say 100 shares for $80, that's $8,000 stock, right? Do you know how much premium you're getting back? You're getting $3,500 premium back on an $8,000 investment. There are not that many stocks that will provide you that level of return. But again, there's a reason why the IB is high, right? It's very speculative in nature.
Exactly. You can see the stock.
January 28.
It's moved from $8 to $190 in a short space of time. I've got it on my watch list for sure. I've been looking to kind of play this with a very small portion of my portfolio. Yeah, no, we appreciate that. We're coming to the hour and a half mark now. It's where we kind of thought about kind of wrapping it up, and I think we've got to do that now, aren't we, Kay?
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah, just kind of tie it up a little bit. That was the last stock, am I correct?
Before actually we cut on the OKLO, let me just give you an idea on how you can play this cheaply for the upside, right? You can look into synthetics. Now, I don't know if you can do synthetic or not, because that might not be available in UK on the platform. But for folks in the US, you can look at to play this more in a synthetic way. So, for example, what is synthetic? Synthetic is basically selling the put at the same price, same expiration that you're buying the call for. And the idea for synthetic is that you should be looking at either net even or getting a little bit of a credit. So, for example, if you buy a call for $40 January 2028, you will pay $59. And then if you sell the put, you'll get about $11. So that's not a great one, but if you're looking at around, let's say, $75, then you're getting 46 you're paying $46 for the call, and you're getting about $35 in put. So your net call or the net outlay is about $1,000. So for an investment of $1,000, you can have a $75 call expiring January 2028. So that there are various ways you can play. You can do the put credit spread, but that's how you should look at playing, rather than like investing 10, 20, $30,000 in stocks like these.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting way of putting it. I think I would just go for shares personally, as you know me, but yeah, I think the viewers might take some value out of that. You've got a comment here from Golfing Fisherman Surfer again. It's going to 1,000.
Well, I hope
you heard it here first.
I hope you make a lot of money.
Yes, 2026 will be a very good year for Golfing Fisherman Surfer if that happens. And thank you to everyone who's watched us on YouTube and on X as well. It's been a really fun session. It's been an hour and a half. I don't know about UK, but it's flown by.
It just went by. I didn't even finish my whole water. It's just half.
We've covered obviously the market last week. We've gone over our weekly picks and one of our picks for 2026. The next pick for 2026 will be the same time next week, 1 p.m. Eastern time, here on X and on YouTube as well. So if you are not following us, let me get the ticker up actually while we're here. There we go. Make sure you subscribe to us on Trading Weekly on YouTube. Of course, make sure you subscribe or not subscribe. Follow us on what's it called? X.
On X and YouTube.
Yeah, I always do that. And of course, More Financial couldn't do without you, the support, the network you've provided for us here. But yeah, Merry Christmas to everyone. Any final messages in terms of trading, perhaps this week, Kay?
No, the next week is going to be fun. We're going to tell you about the 3 things that worked well for us, 3 things that not work well for us, and I hope you learn from something from it, because we definitely learn from each other. And we'll see you guys next week then.
Yeah, I mean, we did one last year as well. So if you go back onto the channel, you can see the video we did with what went well and what didn't go well. Actually, it might be interesting to watch that back, actually, Case, if we actually did kind of follow through with our thoughts.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe that's what we can do in spare time. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching. We really appreciate the support of you coming back week after week. And we're looking forward to kind of doing this going into 2026. Bigger, better, stronger, and hopefully more wise traders. But yeah, take care, everyone. Trade safe. Enjoy your Christmases. Spend time with family, loved one, whatever you choose to do. But yeah, don't trade too hard. Take care, everyone.
Take care. See you guys next week. Bye-bye.